We absolutely love playing Borderlands 3 here. We're having a ton of fun with it, but even the biggest fans have their own small complaints, petty grievances, and things that are just straight up annoying. So, like with lots of games, we scour the internet, forums, and social media to see what's driving people crazy and what they really hate in Borderlands 3. Think of some of this as constructive criticism, some nitpicking, and actually some self-reflection. But let's get started off with number 10. Let's talk about not being able to skip that intro cutscene. So yeah, this is fairly minor, but it still sucks, especially if you're running several characters on your account, so you can have some class variety because, let's face it, this is Borderlands we're talking about here, and that's super common. But yeah, not being able to skip the opening cutscene is incredibly lame, especially when it's not your first character. When you've already been playing the game for hours already, one of the last things you need is to spend 7 or so minutes listening to Marcus explain the history of Pandora and what vaults are and tell you all about the Vault Hunters. And the title cutscene that plays after Marcus's bit where it introduces you to the world and the current batch of Vault Hunters is cool, really cool the first time, but come on, man. Just let us get right into the game already, because a lot of us are just rolling another character. It's also worth mentioning that some folks on Reddit have figured out that if you're playing on PC and rename some files in the game's install directory, you can actually partially skip the intro and save a few minutes, which is funny, but let's be real. That's still far from ideal, and we'd really like Gearbox to just patch it up to be skippable, because it's 2019, guys. Come on. Next at number 9, here's something that we know players definitely hated. The glitch that made people lose their saves. So, in the early days after Borderlands 3's launch, it seems like there were some nasty issues plaguing some players. It was essentially issues with cloud saves combined with crashes and then corrupted save files that got some players stuck in limbo where they couldn't load up another older save that was uncorrupted. So, to be fair though, this didn't affect anyone here at the gameranx HQ, but there were reports of it happening to a fair amount of players out there. And if it did happen to you, that probably sucked, and it's safe to assume you obviously hated it, because just think, maybe you just got Borderlands 3 on launch, the second the game went live, you took off work and played like crazy. Then, maybe you stop playing, go get a sandwich or something like that, something goes down, and next time you try and load up a save, the cloud saves already got totally borked and you lost your hours and hours of gameplay since launch. All that work you put in from day 0. That's probably a perfect way to truly break a man. Thankfully, 2K and Borderlands did quickly add a hotfix to, fix the cloud save sync issue and how cloud saves pop up, basically rectifying the issue, but still, that's after some damage was done, man. Reddit user Tribunal Lackey did come up with a way for some people to get their saves back. Shout out to him. But, let's just hope this never happens again. Please, God. Next, over at number 8, speaking of glitches, another awful bug issue that seems to have happened to some players on threads out there is that their banks have been completely and randomly wiped out. Players have posted complaints of having hours and hours of gameplay with banks filled with sick legendary guns, only to go back and find them completely empty. What the hell, man? That's a major issue that has been happening to select players. Now, while not completely widespread, like we said, it's still devastating if it does happen to you. What the hell was all that work for? The last reports of this were a week or so ago, so hopefully it's been fixed, but that shouldn't have been a thing in the first place. And a glitch or bug like that deserves the hate, honestly, to be straight up. Over at number 7, this is another minor one, but still something that has been completely annoying at times. Shield and health boosters, can be incredibly helpful in a pinch, but the act of having to manually target and then pick them up with a button press is way more trouble than it should be. Considering how they're immediate replenishment items that are just meant to help you out in a pinch, unlike other items like that, having to avert your aim from dudes who are trying to kill you to then scour the ground for them and then manually pick them up seems super counterintuitive, especially considering the red health syringes and all that stuff, like I said, automatically just pick up and go into effect. Seeing how these boosters are supposed to function the same way, it just seems dumb that they're all treated like manual pickups, like you're grabbing a piece of gear or something. It's especially dumb considering they are instantly consumed, so it's not even like they take up inventory space, so it makes even less sense for it to be the way it is. What happened? I don't know, like I said, it's pretty minor. It's a little user interface, ease of use thing, but it's really just been getting under our skin lately. Now next at number 6, let's talk about the Katagawa Jr. fight. There are a lot of fights in Borderlands 3 that feel like they're built with a full crew of Vault Hunters in mind, and that shows a lot when you try and play them either solo or just with a two-man crew. We can list a bunch of those here, but instead we're going to focus on what is probably the biggest offender, at least from what we've seen, and that is the Katagawa Jr. fight at Atlas HQ. Katagawa Jr. has a damn good shield, which sucks because not only is he constantly jumping around, sometimes across the entire map, but he also spawns like 5 decoys at a time, and you never know which one is the real one, and you can often find yourself wiping out decoys just in time to land just a few tiny shots on the real Katagawa Jr. before he dips out to just, create a whole new batch of decoys and start the whole thing all over again. Even after that, when you're finally in the last stage of battle and having him down to a sliver of health, he just sort of has this glitch effect and then sort of teleports around until you can land your killing blow, which is pretty hard to nail down and is a waste of ammo, especially if you're one person, given the size of the arena and how much stuff is there to just obstruct your view. Like we said, there are plenty of other boss fights that pissed us off, but this one really stuck with us, at least the first go around, just as being incredibly frustrating, so we're going to include it here. We want to know your most frustrating boss fight though down in the comments, so let us know. But over at number 5, this is another absolutely petty one, but that's what we're doing in this video, so let's go for it. I've seen a small handful of people point this out. Something that's a little bothersome and slows things down when you're scrolling and shopping at a vendor. It depends on the type of player you are, really. Maybe you are crazy rapid fast. So you might notice that when scrolling through vendor items, there's a little slot machine effect that plays out before the actual price of the thing is revealed. So technically, you can't scroll and look at the prices all at once. You have to scroll down once, wait a half a second to see the price, and rinse and repeat, and so on and so on. Again, the animation that reveals the numbers that plays out is super short, but to some players, it's just annoying enough. Like, why wouldn't you just show the prices straight up? I get that it looks cool. It goes with the whole, Borderlands vibe and the whole thing, but it just slows everything down, the act of being in the shop, just slightly enough to be bothersome to some high-level players. Again, super petty bullshit, but that's what this video is for. Now next at number 4, if we're talking about hate, Ava. She pops up a lot. When we dove through message boards and social media, the character most complained about, it seems like, and hated on was Ava. There are even articles written about her. I don't know. There are 2 things about her that jam people up, it seems. First, it's her personality. She's brash and antagonistic and kind of comes off as that typical annoying teenager with a dumb attitude in like an over-the-top corny way. You've probably seen it in movies where there's like an intentionally annoying kid character. It's like that. Now, Ava absolutely embodies that concept to a T for a lot of people. There's that, and then secondly, just every move or decision she makes pretty much sucks. This goes into spoiler territory, which we will not spoil, but the interaction between her, other characters, and other factions left a lot of fans really annoyed and a little unsatisfied, it seems. These videos about fan hate and fan complaints always end up having at least one character that gets a bunch of hate, and for Borderlands 3, it looks like it falls on her. So, sorry Ava, I don't know, man. Maybe you'll be redeemed in DLC? I don't know. But down to number 3, let's talk about badasses with rocket launchers. Now look, yes, we know badasses are supposed to be hard. That's their entire reason for existing. But sometimes it's just straight up kind of unfair. It feels like bullshit, especially when you get badass fanatics or badass enforcers who, in our play sessions, just have been wrecking shop with rocket launchers only and just feel really cheap overall. Sort of like it's just artificially jacking up the difficulty on an already hard encounter just because. These guys can be bad enough on their own, sure, but boost things up to like, say, Mayhem 3, and you get the even wilder, anointed enemies that have the same damn problem, and it just becomes a total mess of a shit show and stops being fun at a certain point. Like, we're all for harsh difficulty in games. We love a challenge. We've gone on record many times, but like when we die, we want to know it's because we screwed up or wasn't good enough, not that the game just had other plans and spawned in some dudes to barrage you with cheap shots just because. That's a bit of a rant from some of us here, but let's move on to number 2. Because with this next one, we're gonna dive deep on player psychology and point out that a lot of players hate that you just can't always get what you want. Now, we've touched on this before, and it goes for pretty much every Borderlands game and pretty much every loot-based game or RPG. That impulsive opening of the next crate or chest that's filled with a bunch of crap you don't want. Don't you just hate that? There's nothing worse than busting your ass through an area or an encounter only to find a nice, healthy-looking crate that opens up, spills out a bunch of goodies that aren't really good. Maybe it pops a bunch of sniper rifles that you just don't use, or maybe a weak pistol, maybe with some attributes you just don't find useful personally to your character build. Hey, it happens. It's the nature of the game. It's a gamble. Sometimes you get lucky and get awesome guns, but occasionally you just don't. Sometimes you get nothing exciting, and that sucks. But down to number 1, let's talk about co-op. It's extremely important to Borderlands. Some people opt to completely play the game exclusively with a friend, be it online co-op or even in special cases on the couch. We commend Borderlands, honestly, for mostly having some sort of couch co-op implementation, at least on console. That being said, upon launch, Borderlands 3 has been a hot mess on the co-op front, dude. Online co-op on multiple platforms has had widespread reported lag and frame rate drops and issues as soon as another player shows up, from gameplay itself to menu and inventory management, and that's a big problem. Stuttering and all sorts of lag abound, especially with an awful frame rate in couch co-op mode, has been reported. And considering co-op is the way, like we said, many people choose to primarily play, this is an issue that has been the subject of lots of hate out there. And honestly, for good reason. The game should not have launched with such issues. Now, Gearbox, to be fair, has acknowledged the issues and are rolling out fixes, and some crafty PC players have worked on their own solutions through fixes and setting tweaks, but still, it goes without saying, this sucked, and it should not have happened. That being said, we are still having a ton of fun with Borderlands. We just like to poke fun at some things. So we know you guys probably have small little issues down in the comments, so let us know. We want to hear from you guys. These are our choices, but we've seen tons more out there, big complaints and small, so let's hear it. This is the time to air your grievances. But if you enjoyed this video, clicking the like button is a good way you can help us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.